terms of macro cues is the fact that the government has now approved the amendments incorporating the suggestions made by the select panel on the goods and services tax. The big change is the amendment in the compensation clause, which now guarantees states an assured compensation for any revenue loss incurred up to 5 years after the rollout of the GST. How much of a positive is this, and are we one step closer to GST being a reality? To discuss the impact is M. Govinda Rao, the former PMEAC chairman, and Sachin Menon of KPMG India, who join in. Gentlemen, morning to both of you. Sachin, I want to start off with you. The panel headed by Bhupendra Yadav suggested a maximum GST of 20% and also suggested a 1% additional tax by states to be levied only on the actual sales and not on the intercompany transfer of stock. How much of a positive would that be?
I feel that this particular recommendation is not very well thought out.
Okay.
Because end of the day, this 1% additional tax is a misnomer and it's going to distort the entire GST structure. That's a fact. Rather, I would have been happy had the panel recommended to withdraw this 1%. Now, by recommending that this could be only on the supply against consideration,
yes,
this means that at least about, because if you look at the ratio of interstate supplies, total supplies to the interstate sale against consideration, it could be hardly about 25%, maximum 30%. Which means that 70% of the estimated collection by imposing 1% additional tax is discounted. So you get only 30%.
Yes.
If I have to pay 1% additional tax if I am selling interstate, but if I am stock transferring, no 1% additional tax is leviable, every company would stop interstate sale. They will just stock transfer as far as possible. So government won't achieve their objective of additional collection. At the same time, the industries will have to spend unnecessary expense of building up a warehouse in each location, which is avoidable. It is nobody's game for that matter. So industry is also losing, government is also losing. So the proposition of discounting to the level of only on the sale for a consideration seems to be not achieving neither the government purpose nor the industry.
But it will at least stop cascading, no?
To some extent. Whatever maybe those 30%, what they're going to collect, to that extent, the cascading would get reduced.
Okay.
It's not stop altogether.
And also politically, it at least is going ahead. Otherwise, it was getting stymied. So you don't think that we are at least closer to a GST, however distorted, coming into play?
I mean, everybody is looking forward to a GST regime. And the industry, the consumers, the public, everybody, only except for this political game, everybody wants GST. So maybe even in a subdued manner, people would like to push this reform through. But having said this, if given a choice, either 1% is not there or 1% is there. It should be the scenario. Right? In between, perhaps, may not be making any sense.
Dr. Rao, welcome to the conversation. What is your sense of the amendments proposed? Compensation has to be provided for 5 years, and this 1% manufacturing tax has been allowed, provided it is there is a sale involved and not simply transfer of goods. As is, do you think we have made some positive progress towards GST?
Well, I don't know whether it's a positive progress towards GST. You know, when they had that 1% on the interstate supply of goods in the 122nd Constitution Amendment Bill, I was the one who said that there is a birth defect in the bill. Now, to some extent, to the extent that you see the stock transfers or the consignment transfers are out of that, to that extent it has been, you know, it is better. But basically, neither from the efficiency nor from equity point of view, this, you know, sort of even the 1% interstate tax on sale is appropriate. Now, should we go ahead with this? Perhaps we should. And then perhaps we should really give a guarantee that in 2 years' time this will go. In fact,
what are the chances it will go? What are the chances it will go? Do you think that both governments?
In fact, there is a serious disincentive for it to go. No state would like to get rid of it, because even the poorer states would not like to, people don't matter to us. It's only the governments. And, one of the saddest commentary of Indian tax reform is that the industry is basically reacting to the proposals and not being proactive. I have never seen any industry fellows coming up and then saying that this is the way we should have an ideal tax system is. When the government comes up with a particular thing, then they come up and then start reacting to it. I think that's not on. And then the government, it's not just the government, I think the stakeholders should be taken into account, their consideration should be taken into account. But the fact of the matter is, the GST thing is stuck in the mud. It's like a bullock cart stuck in the mud. It neither moves forward nor moves backward.
Okay.
And I think there is a very serious problem with this.
Sure. Mr. Rao, just hold on to that thought. Sachin, as and when it moves out of the mud, as Mr. Rao was pointing out, what is the final revenue rate that will be acceptable to customers or to stakeholders? Because internationally GST rates range from about 16 to 20%, and there are some exceptions like Japan, Australia, where there's 8%, 10% as well. What is the final revenue neutral rate that will be acceptable in our country?
Well, if you look at the current tax scenario, the manufacturing sector is taxed to death because that is the only sector they could, control and administer because it is there and you can go and physically verify the stock or the production or whatever. As a result, we have a very disproportionate taxation system where the sector, which is manufacturing sector, contributing 16-17% of the total GDP, is end up paying 60-70% of the total taxes collected. Whereas service segment was, even now it is almost about 15-16%, but contributing less than 17-18% of the total taxes. So there is a urgent need of addressing the disproportionate taxation of goods and services, and therefore there has to be a reduction in the rate as far as manufactured goods are concerned, and there has to be a level playing ground for service and goods. So in that respect, the service taxation should go up, and this is logical. So if you're looking at the service taxation, whether that entire service tax will stuck into the consumer, it may not, because the B2B transaction, many cases, other than the output as a service, this is becoming an input tax for the manufacturing sector. Therefore, the entire service revenue may not be realizing as a tax collection. So therefore, if you have, according to me, if you have even a 20% tax rate for goods and service, that could be more than enough to collect a tax which is equal to what they are collecting as of now. So the revenue neutral theory, I don't envisage a situation where the taxes should be more than 20%. To that extent, the recommendation of select committee makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. Dr. Rao, if you could come in on the revenue neutral rate, as also the fact that some vital elements have been kept out of the GST, including electricity, alcohol, petroleum products.
Correct the misconception. The select committee cannot recommend a rate. The recommendation of the rate will have to come from the GST Council. They can only suggest an indicative rate. This is first. The second, that you see, when we are talking about a revenue neutral rate, we forget the fact, so a revenue neutral rate can be, even if you estimate it is 20%, if you have two rates at the union level and two rates at the state level, then the general rate of tax will go up. If you have 5% and, and then a general rate, and that general rate may become 13%. In other words, when you are making an international comparison, in most of the countries they have one rate. European Union, of course, except for Norway, all other countries have two rates or more. The rate varies from 13% to 28%. In other words, it's not that it's such a clear-cut issue. But we do not want to have one rate of tax at the union and one rate of tax at the state. Like we need to tax essentials at a lower rate, which means that you have a problem. So the general rate goes up. But nevertheless, it's only the statesmen can decide. It is not that anybody who is calculating the revenue neutral rate will decide. Statesmen will have to come and decide that, look, compliance will be better and therefore we will reduce the rate and say that we will keep the general rate of tax at 10% each at the union and the state level. This is the second. And as far as the inclusion of various items are concerned, I would have preferred the inclusion of all items, but a special excise or a special sales tax on petroleum products because of environmental reasons or whatever, and sin taxes on alcohol and tobacco. But that is not, we can't ask for the ideal in a country where there are 29 states, 2 union territories and a union government. Some compromises are acceptable, but the fundamentals should be right. And my problem is that 1% tax on interstate sale is a fundamental problem. All these can be sorted out over a period of time. I would say that the government of India, if it acts like a statesman, can come out and then say that we would like to, whatever be the revenue neutral rate, we will sort of protect the state's revenue at if they levy at 10%, and that is the only way. But I am not sure. Any major tax reform requires statesmen, and I hope the political leadership will rise up to that.
All right. Thank you for that very big takeaway, Dr. Rao and Sachin. We are out of time.